Nigerian Navy inaugurates new assets to secure waters.
This commissioner is therefore a reflection of our determination to empower our institutions and protect our resources.
AU Peace and Security Council inducts new members.
Vision and recommendations must be profound, pragmatic, and practical.
NDLEA foils pilgrims cocaine smuggling syndicate to Saudi Arabia.
In Nigeria today, we shall continue our conversation on 2 years of Tinubu administration housing sector, plus national dialogue for citizen engagement and national security.
Last Monday, the 26th of May, on Good Morning Nigeria, we began a crucial conversation looking at 2 years of President Tinubu's administration with a spotlight on the housing sector. That's right, Demola. Very interesting conversation we had then, and we had insightful perspectives from architect Ahmed Musa Dengiwa, the Honorable Minister of Housing and Urban Development, and Damola Akindelere, a public-private partnership consultant on the Renewed Hope Cities project. Yeah, you're right, Jumai. They detailed how the administration is tackling Nigeria's housing deficit through the Renewed Hope Cities and Estate Development Program, a flagship effort designed to create inclusive, affordable urban spaces for Nigerians. Now, this morning, we're continuing that conversation on a sector that remains central to President Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda: housing. Housing. 2 years into the administration, how far have we come? We'll be examining the role of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, its partnership with the private developers, and how effective these collaborations have been in making housing accessible and affordable. And of course, what challenges still lie ahead? What does the future hold for the sector? These are some of the questions we will be exploring today as we take a deeper look at the housing roadmap and its impact on everyday Nigerians. So stay with us as we explore the policies, partnerships, and prospects shaping Nigeria's housing landscape. I am Ademola Adeoye, and as always, we are glad to have you start your day. I mean, that's this month of June. Yeah, the month of June. The first day of the week. Of the week. Yeah. Indeed, and that's not all, you know, Demola. The second part of the program will be turning our attention to an equally important conversation: national dialogue on citizen engagement and national security. It promises to be quite engaging. I am Jumwe Yusuf. We're live on the network service of the NTA. And in just a moment, Chukudi Okolu-Gbaja will be here with the newspaper review. But before Chukudi comes here, but first, let's catch up with the top stories making the headlines with Stella Namete, who is sitting by with the morning news. Good morning, Stella.
Good morning, Ademola and Jumwe. You both are looking very good this morning. I like the combination. Thank you. Okay. Now the news. In a renewed demonstration of its commitment to national security, the Nigerian Navy has inaugurated 3 newly acquired patrol vessels and tracker helicopters. President Bola Tinubu, who was represented, says his administration will leave no stone unturned to ensuring Nigeria's territorial integrity is secured.
These patrol ships and helicopters are force multipliers in our fight against piracy, oil theft, illegal fishing, and other maritime crime. This commissioner is therefore a reflection of our determination to empower our institutions and protect our resources.
The collective commitment of member nations to foster a more secured, stable and prosperous Africa while laying the foundation for a brighter future on the continent is being pursued with deliberate efforts. This is the aim of the Military Staff Committee of the African Union Peace and Security Council at the induction of new members in Lagos, Nigeria. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, presided over the three-day event.
Decisions and recommendations must be profound, pragmatic, and practicable. They must have real-world implications that will impact lives, shape communities, and determine the trajectory of our future.
Nigeria is taking a lead in the African Union's Sustainable Development Agenda through a deliberate effort by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Renewed Hope Agenda. This view was shared by stakeholders at the AUDA NEPAD Management and Staff Capacity Building Workshop in AU Agenda 2063 and National Action Implementation Process held in Kaduna.
Agenda 2063 is not just a document. It is Africa's blueprint for inclusive and sustainable development. It presents a vision of a continent that is integrated, prosperous and peaceful, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena.
The maiden edition of the late Hajia Abibat Mogaji Tinubu Quranic recitation competition has rounded up in Kano, with winners going home with prizes including houses and Hajj seats. The competition, which was convened by the Special Advisor to the President on National Assembly Matters, received the blessings of Islamic leaders of all sects from Nigeria and abroad.
It is a spiritual journey, a testament to dedication, discipline, and devotion. The Holy Quran is the divine word of Allah.
Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have uncovered and dismantled a syndicate that sponsors Hajj pilgrims who also serve as couriers to smuggle cocaine to Saudi Arabia during pilgrimage. This development follows the arrest of the cartel's leaders in Kano. Each person excreted 45 wraps of cocaine, totaling 90 pellets. And those are the highlights of the news at this time. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly with Ademola and Jume after this commercial break.
I am Oluremi Tinubu, the global and national Stop TB champion. Many people have asked why I've chosen to champion the fight against a disease like tuberculosis. My reason stems from a deep personal experience. I once had a friend who unfortunately fell ill and concealed the nature of his sickness until it was too late. Eventually, after he passed, we discovered he had tuberculosis. Sadly, due to the stigma and discrimination surrounding the disease, he would not speak up or seek for help. His death was a painful reminder that we could have intervened and saved a life if only we had known earlier. Tuberculosis is an airborne disease that primarily affects the lungs, but can also impact other parts of the body. Being airborne means anyone, regardless of their social economic status, can contract it. In Nigeria, one person dies of TB-related illness every 7 minutes, amounting to 206 deaths every day. Globally, one person succumbs to TB every 25 seconds, which is a staggering 3,456 lives lost daily. These deaths are entirely preventable because TB is curable if detected and treated early. If you or someone you know has been coughing for 2 weeks or more, coughing up blood, experiencing night sweats, or losing weight drastically, it might be TB. Please visit the nearest government hospital or primary health care center for proper diagnosis and treatment. TB treatment is free in all government and some private health facilities. Let us also remember not to stigmatize or discriminate against TB patients or those who have been treated for TB. Individuals who have been cured of TB cannot infect others. I call on all stakeholders, especially the private sector, to join us in the fight to end TB in Nigeria. Together, we can make a difference. Remember, TB anywhere is TB everywhere. End TB by 2030. Yes, we can.
Have you heard the news? The federal government of Nigeria, through its direct benefit transfer program, has started the disbursement of 75,000 naira per household in 3 installments of 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 naira. Each recipient must have a validated national identification number, NIN, to receive the payment on behalf of their household members. To benefit, your household must be in the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households in Nigeria. The federal government's direct benefit transfer program is helping to reduce the effect of suffering while promoting financial and economic inclusion for the poor and vulnerable population in Nigeria.
Afam Bogeneka, Ebim Nagara Dimawa Village, Abuja, Nazo Afeba. So Esom Nandi register na NSR government register with my NIN. So government wears them ATM card. Njiwe wete 25,000 naira 3 times. And ega hayam keta barumuru na bem. Eji megoro makamihe. Jikweru mehendozo. Thank you.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, in collaboration with the National Social Investment Programs Agency, National Social Safety Net's Coordinating Office, and the National Cash Transfer Office.
Emeka, you come into my home and you see me and my family enjoying our golden morn, and you still proceed to talk about business.
Emma, it is very, very serious.
Yes, so there is serious news. Introducing the new Golden Morn 3-in-1 with milk already inside for your creamy, nutritious enjoyment. Get the new Golden Morn 3-in-1 for your family. From Nestle.
The concluding editions of the second year of President Tinubu anniversary documentary themed The Mission, The Masons, The Milestones come up with Lifting Nigerians Home and Abroad rounds off the series at 10 to 10:30 p.m. Stay tuned to the network service of the NTA.
Introducing the new Jig Sachet. Whitening your whites has never been more affordable. Now you can keep whites shining brighter and disinfect by killing 99.9% of germs on your floors and other surfaces. Just jig it with Jig Sachet.
Does your toothpaste give you complete fresh protection? New Close-Up Toothpaste Complete Fresh Protection takes care of your 5 important oral care needs. It gives you strong teeth, prevents tooth holes, cleans deeply, fights bacteria, and gives you fresh breath. Complete fresh protection from Close-Up.
Our major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the Naira.
A new edition of TV Guide is out, featuring an impeccable personality with purposeful leadership.
Abba Abubakar Aliu, MD, CEO of Rural Electrification Agency, takes us through the gamut of activities and mandates of Rural Electrification Agency, as well as its achievements and dreams.
I really want to see
that I leave a lasting legacy that can be spoken of in a very long period of time.
Welcome to a world of fun and excitement as we also present an assemblage of professionals in the media space. Some compelling NTA programs, current trends in the fashion world, ICT, sports, entertainment, and lots more.
Meet Professor Charles Anosike, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, as he shares his vision in repositioning NIMET as a key player in Nigeria's climate strategy.
Get a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Up next on the program is Newspaper Review.
The newspaper reviewer Chukudi Okolu Baja is in the studio.
I am fully here, my sister. How was your weekend?
Alhamdulillah, it went well.
By His grace. Just believe in Him. Time cures everything if you're patient enough.
Yeah.
Demo, how are you doing?
Great.
You look good, as always.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Jumai.
Well, yeah, I was just waiting for you to talk about the UEFA Championship. Actually.
No.
So we have some papers that came in now, and let's quickly go through them. I have the Mr. Demola. Can you start?
Okay,
yes.
Let me start with the Leadership newspaper.
Yeah.
The Leadership newspaper says just above the major the nameplate. Buhari, Akpabio, Abbas, others mourn victims of Kano auto crash. Details of that story can be found on page 6. Then we have the $1 million grant. Experts raise concerns over misuse of foreign aid. Briefing, fast check. Why did Serap ask National Assembly to reject Tinubu's loan request? Kano athletes die in auto crash. Mokwa flood, death toll hits 153. 2027 disquiet in APC over automatic tickets. APC governors may meet Ganduje after Salah. I will follow party's decision, Uzodinma, and many more. Then we have 50 killed, 15 churches shot in Makadi Catholic Church. Details of that story can be found on page 6. IMF analyst caution federal government over increasing debt. Details on page 84. Abuja due to plant rehabilitation. Wike. Details of that story can be found on page 78. Federal government moves to cut $1.5 billion dairy imports. Details on page 17. Are you set now, Joanne?
Yeah, I'm set.
Okay.
Let's quickly go to the Daily Times newspaper this morning. Daily Times newspaper. We begin just above the masthead. NDLEA arrests 2 Saudi-bound pilgrims, intercept 9.3 billion naira opioids. Find the details on page 5. And below the picture story you see there, Nigeria security and political economy That's part 1. You want to find out what it's all about, you go to page 16. IOCs not exiting Nigeria. That's coming from the presidency. You find the details on page 2. FG backs NSITF expansion of employees compensation for public servants. Find details on page 11. Amechi gave Tinubu dose of his own medicine in 2022. That's coming from Wole Soyinka, the Nobel laureate. And Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway, a rushed celebration of unfinished dream. That's coming from Ame. And no reason peace will not reign between me and my Oga. That's coming from the suspended Rivers State Governor Fubara. And the headlines in the Nigeria Daily Times: judiciary workers begin nationwide indefinite strike today. Want all the details? You go to page 2. Let's quickly go to the Business Nigeria. And above the masthead of the Business Nigeria, let me go. Tinubu flags off 30-kilometer Lagos Calabar Highway section. Find the details on page 2. Above the masthead, Nigeria's economic shift, progress and promise yet to fulfill. Find the details on page 9. And NDIC begins payouts to Pearl microfinance depositors and stakeholders. If you're one of them, you go to page 2 for the details. And Serap, in the headlines, sues NNPCL over missing 500 billion naira oil revenue. You find all the details on page 2 too. And Dangote turns to U.S. crude again, imports 5 million barrels of U.S. crude for July. You find all the details inside the paper. And Nigeria overtakes Sudan as Africa's worst for child malnutrition. That's quite alarming. And shutdown looms. 9 Mobile in financial crisis. Network will spark exodus. And at the bottom plate of the Business Nigeria, OPEC Plus output surge puts fresh pressure on Nigeria. Find the details on page 2, Mr. Chukudi. That's about what I have here.
Thank you. In journalism, if you can't catch immediacy, you endeavor at recency. The news has to stay fresh.
Yeah.
So judiciary workers suspend planned strike for 2 weeks. That's coming from the Punch, so that we can update what the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria has directed its members nationwide to suspend their planned industrial action, originally scheduled to commence on Monday, June the 2nd. So that's the latest about it.
That's the latest.
And that, I think, is some reprieve. Let them talk it out. Let them discuss whatever the issues are. Let them jojo and not war. Now, let me start with the cup being half empty of water. There's a warning about the increasing debt. You know, just last week we said, hey, we thought we were stabilizing the economy. I still think the economy is stabilizing. Prices are going down, but we still admit that the going down is still above the minimum wage. We have to say it. So
now you're talking.
No, we have to, please. That's what we owe the people. Yes. And that's actually what we owe the government as well, if we are to be true to them. But you will first pat them on the back so they can do more. Yes. I tell people, that you can criticize. It's not what you say in criticism that matters. It's usually how you say it.
Yes.
That's it. That's why some people can tell a man to go to hell in a way that they look forward to the trip. Okay? So the debt, IMF and them analysts are cautioning over increasing debt. But the question I ask, why wait for people from outside to warn the federal government? I hope the Debt Management Office is not playing sycophancy. Very important.
Very important.
It's better that your children begin to tell you, Mommy, this is what you do no good to Daddy. Not for your uncles, because that could actually develop into a quarrel. But when you start from home, it is usually...
Director General and Chief Executive Officer of Voice of Nigeria. Date Tuesday, 3rd June 2025. Time 9 a.m. Venue, Bon Hotel Octagon, Jahi, Abuja. A gathering of voices from across Nigeria. Announcer.
I am pleased to announce encouraging news from the National Bureau of Statistics, which released the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, for April 2025 only yesterday. According to the report, the headline inflation rate for April stood at 23.71%, This represents a decrease of 0.52% from the 24.23% recorded in March 2025. Similarly, month-on-month inflation dropped by a notable 2.04% from 3.90% in March to 1.86% in April. This, of course, did not just happen by chance. The President is focused and is determined, and his determination and his interventions are clearly paying off. The benefits of reform, though gradual, are real and
The concluding editions of the second year of President Tinubu anniversary documentary themed The Mission, the Masons, the Milestones come up with Lifting Nigerians Home and Abroad rounds off the series at 10 to 10:30 p.m. Stay tuned to the network service of the NTA.
Introducing the new Jig Sachet. Whitening your whites has never been more affordable. Now you can keep whites shining brighter and disinfect by killing 99.9% of germs on your floors and other surfaces. Just jig it with Jig Sachet.
The Nigerian national flag represents our country's history, culture, and identity. It was designed in 1959. The colors are Emerald Green 2.0, which represents agriculture, and Immaculate White represents unity and peace. Know how to handle our flag. Illuminate the environment or don't fly the flag overnight. Do not fly a dirty or tattered flag. Take such flag to the nearest National Orientation Agency office for proper disposal and replacement. The national flag can only be flown at half-mast on the directive of the federal government. The national flag must be flown at the same or higher height when displayed alongside other flags. Don't burn or allow the national flag to fall on the ground. Do not print, decorate, modify, or insert the coat of arms on the flag. Our national heroes are not buried with the flag. They are honored by presenting it to their next of kin during interment. Respect our national flag. Be a real Nigerian.
This message was brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
At NTA Television College Jos, you will dive into exhilarating hands that will fuel your passion in education and propel your career to new heights. We don't just teach, we craft the next generation of media leaders. Explore our diverse offering, understanding the personnel matters and issues in the public service, basic development communication, financial reporting under IPSAS, and interpretation of public sector accounting standard IPSAS, audit, internal check and control management, video camera maintenance, new technologies, optics, fiber, IP technologies, automation, storage management, and wireless technology. Challenges and opportunities in the secretarial profession in the digital age. Digital marketing, basic drama, online reporting, understanding the provisions of the revised public service, audio engineering operations and maintenance, camera operations, and intermediate drama. Mark your calendar. The second quarter of 2025 is your launch pad. This is your moment to seize the future. Announcer Management.
I want to play! I want to play! Survey says... If my phone rings at 2 a.m., it's probably... my mom. An emergency. Landlord. Achaluko. Hey! I will give you 1
1.5 million. After you smile finish, I'll add extra 1.5 million just for you to move around. I'll not add extra 2 million naira. Just for you to call me Odogu.
Family Feud Nigeria Season 3 is officially live.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we swear in colors, with undying demand. We bet solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we have more than just a nation.
We are Nigeria, strengthening unity. We know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the Real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And to continue our conversation with borders on 2 years of Tinubu administration's focus on housing sector, here's an excerpt from our previous conversation put together by correspondent Timothy Yusuf.
The Renewed Hope Housing Program is a program of federal government of Nigeria under the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's a transformative program in order to make housing a reality for Nigerians. Home ownership, I can say, a reality for Nigerians. It's aimed to make housing very accessible, inclusive, and affordable for all Nigerians and all cadres of Nigerians, from the high to the low, even to the low-income Nigerians. That's what the Renewed Hope Housing Program is all about. And when it came in 3 categories. We had the Renewed Hope Cities program, which is aimed to deliver 7 cities in the country, 1 in the federal capital, and then 6, 1 in each geographical zone of the country, in the major cities of each of the zones. This is aimed to deliver 1,000 plus housing units in these locations.
Just like the Honourable Minister has mentioned, you know, the government realized very early on that the private sector needs to play a critical role in the delivery of housing for Nigerians, and that's why the private sector were able to mobilize very serious-minded, large-scale developers. Because the real issue here is when you look at the rental cost of rent, the real factor driving up rent is the lack of housing.
Yes,
that's within close proximity to the cities. So for us, developers had to come, apply to the ministry. We went through a normal process, and through that process now we are talking about the Renewed Hope Cities, which is delivering 1,000 units in all 6 geopolitical zones and the FCT.
There are many ways, in such a way that the federal government has an institution, which is the primary mortgage bank, which is the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. It's the secondary mortgage market that can provide affordable mortgages to all Nigerians at the rate of 6%, which is the cheapest you can get, and with a large time of repayment, which is up to 30 years repayment. If you compare it with the private sector, they can only give you mortgage if you go to commercial bank for 5 years at almost 25%. Now with the MRIF, they can provide you 16% with maybe 20 years. So already there exists an institution that has branches in 36 states of the Federation, including FCT, that is providing that.
Thank you, Timothy, for putting together that excerpts from our last week discussion on the Tinubu administration on the housing. Now we have a continuation of that discussion, and we have in our studio, our guests are already seated. joining us here to continue the conversation on 2 years of President Tinubu's administration focusing on the housing sector. Let me first introduce Shehu Usman Osidi, Managing Director of Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. MD, you are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right. Also joining us here is Barrister Festus Adebayo. Is the founder Housing Development Advocacy Network and founder Africa International Housing Show. Barrister Adebayo, it's been a while. Good to see you after a very long time.
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we also have here seated in the studio Dr. Ugochukwu Chime. He's a housing expert and chairman, Presidential Land Reforms Tax Team, and member, Governing Council, Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much
this morning.
Jumai, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so let's kickstart this conversation this morning with the MD. We're still looking at the 2 years administration of President Tinubu's policy on housing. And as a key housing finance institution, how would you assess, the impact of the renewed Hope Housing Program on the national landscape so far? And what is the role of the Federal Mortgage Bank in all this?
Thank you very much. I think I will start by saying that the President, from the beginning, identified housing as a major driver of the Nigerian economy. And he demonstrated it by first creating a housing ministry to stand alone. As you know, in the past we used to have the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing. Then it came to Works and Housing, and so when he came, he decided to remove it from Works and created a standalone ministry as Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. That clearly shows a president that has a clear vision for housing. And the president also demonstrated further by appointing a professional in the built environment in the person of Architect Ahmed Musa Dangiwa as the Honorable Minister for Housing. Secondly, the president also introduced the renewed Hope Housing Agenda, which was to be driven by the Honorable Minister of Housing, Architect Ahmed Dangiwa. And to your question, what is the role of the FMBN? In terms of assessing how far, I would say so far so good. Now, first, that has opened a vista of opportunities, created situations where both the private sector and the public sector can work together to amplify the benefits that are derivable from the housing sector. Now, what is the role of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria? As you know, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is the apex mortgage institution in Nigeria, created to pool resources together in terms of contributions from Nigerian workers, both in the public and private sectors, into the National Housing Fund. The idea is to give opportunities to Nigerians to contribute to a fund that will enable them to take a loan to own their houses. So what that does is that we have what we call a qualifying criteria. Every Nigerian contributes who is gainfully employed, either as a self-employed individual or in paid employment, is required by law to contribute 2.5% of his monthly income. Now, if you take a Nigerian who is earning 100,000 naira, 2.5% contribution would be 2,500. The law provides that if you contribute 2.5, which is 2,500 in this case, for 6 months, which is 15,000 naira, it gives you an opportunity to take a mortgage loan of between 5 million to 50 million, which you would pay back over a period of 30 years.
Okay, I mean, that contribution can actually give you opportunity to get a loan?
Yes, that's why I said the contribution is a qualifying criteria.
Okay.
It has no correlation with the amount of money you can borrow. Okay. What you can borrow as a mortgage loan depends on your income and the number of years you have in service. But that contribution is a qualifying criteria just for you to qualify to participate in the scheme. So you can imagine the opportunity that is there. You contribute 15,000, you have an opportunity to take a loan of between 10 to 50 million naira. Now, because of the central role of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, when the president pronounced the agenda, the Renewed Hope Housing Agenda, as driven by the Honorable Minister. The ministry also identified the fact that government cannot do it alone. Housing investment is capital intensive, as we all know. And so there was the need to also bring the private sector. And one of the reasons I said it was very critical and strategic for the president to appoint an expert in the housing sector is that when the minister came on board, one of the first things he did was to establish 4 reform task teams and give them an agenda to produce a blueprint and a roadmap for the implementation of the Mr. President's agenda. And these 4 task teams were: 1, Housing Institutions Reform Task Team, that was charged with the responsibility of reforming the housing institutions like the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, the Federal Housing Authority, etc. Second is the Building Materials Manufacturing Hub, which is also intended to create a building material manufacturing hub in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Then there was also the Land Reforms Task Team that was also to look at the obsolete laws, guiding and stifling housing transactions in Nigeria, to generally make recommendations on reforming the title documents with respect to land. And then the 4th is the National Social Housing Fund, which was also intended to create a fund where even individuals who are no income earners can have access, have shelter over their head. Okay. So now the role of the Federal Mortgage Bank is that the ministry signed an MOU between the Federal Ministry and a consortium of developers to build houses across the country. Okay. And the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria provided a bankable off-taker guarantee of 100 billion naira to enable this 100 billion naira, okay, to enable these developers access funding for housing. And in any location where these houses are constructed, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria also provides mortgage loans for the individual beneficiaries of those houses. So in addition to the bankable off-taker guarantee that were provided, we are also involved in direct funding for the delivery of houses under the Renewed Hope agenda. But the idea is that because the private sector is borrowing from the private sector, the rates are higher, and so we are exploring the opportunity of a cross-subsidy so that low and medium income earners, who are the targets of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, can live in those communities by paying less.
Okay, by paying less. Our viewers, last week, most of you sent questions, for the Federal Mortgage Bank, and the MD CEO is seated here in the studio. So let's start getting your messages as they come in. Now, MD, I would like you to explain step by step, the major steps that the Federal Mortgage Bank has taken in the past 2 years to improve access, to affordable houses. And can you sort of elaborate on the structure and impact of your public-private partnership? Let's have a structure of how it works.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me start with the second question, which is the structure of our public-private partnership. Now, we have this in a number of variants. The first one is where a private developer that has land can collaborate with the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, where we will provide construction financing for the houses to be built. And when the houses are constructed, we will again create mortgage loans for individual beneficiaries who are going to be off-takers of those houses. Now, as an institution, we had, I would say, a bitter experience where developers who had land in whatever location had approached the bank for funding of those houses without off-takers in mind ab initio. So we ended up with estates that were built in some locations that were not off-taking for the reason that they were not properly located and so on. And some of them, the off-takers...
Due diligence was carried out.
Due diligence was carried out, but I think it's a matter of judgment. I mean, so I would not want to pass judgment on, but the point I'm making is that we then decided as an institution to say, before we finance any construction, we must know from day one the individuals for whom those houses are being built. So we created what we call the Cooperative Housing Development Loan Window, where Nigerian workers, for example, both in the public and private sector, can form cooperatives and design the kind of houses they want by themselves, cost those houses according to the income of their members, and then they approach the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria to take a loan to build the houses so that we can then finance mortgages for the individual members to borrow. The second variant that we have is what we call the Ministerial Pilot Housing Scheme, where we are partnering with the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. The ministry provides land, and then the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria provides construction financing. And again, when the houses are constructed, we will also provide mortgages for the individual beneficiaries. And then the third is what I explained earlier, where we are providing bankable off-taker guarantees to developers who are willing to build houses. And what we require from them is to tell us for whom those houses are being built. So you must enter into a partnership with a group of off-takers to say we have these individuals working in ABC and they are interested in buying the houses that we will build. We have worked together to design the houses, to cost the houses, and so when we build these houses, they will off-take. So we do what we call profiling of those off-takers, check their affordability and be sure that they are willing to take those houses, and then we finance construction. So those are variants of the PPP that we are doing.
Must there be civil servants or private people who can come in and get these houses?
Both.
Okay, both.
Both public civil servants and private sector employees in the private sector, and even self-employed individuals. Or your own as a self-employed Nigeria, you can declare a monthly income that you earn and decide on your own how much you think is 2.5% of that income and contribute to the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria for 6 months, and it gives you an opportunity to apply for a mortgage loan to buy a house.
Okay, from what you have said so far, MD, it appears that the Federal Mortgage Bank has been a key driver of flagship housing projects like the Renew Hope cities in Karsana and Ibejuleki. What makes this project different from previous housing initiatives that the bank has embarked on, and how are they contributing to improve access in terms of affordability, for Nigerians?
Okay, let me start by saying that the Renewed Hope Cities and Estates program is a very major program of the government. And as you recall, the president, specifically on the 8th of June 2024, when he personally did the groundbreaking of the 3,112 housing units at Karsana in Abuja, he made a statement that he intended to turn the country into a major construction site. As you know, housing is a major driver of the Nigerian economy, or any economy for that matter. So the difference between our participation in the Renewed Hope, especially in Karsana and Ibejuleki, Lagos, is that, like I explained earlier, ordinarily, in the course of our normal operations, what we were doing was for developers to approach the bank, take a facility to build houses, after which we then provide mortgages. But as you know, affordability is a function of two variables. One is cost and the other is income. Now, for you to have an affordable house, for example in Abuja, it is very difficult to build such a house in the city center. So most of the developments that were financed in Abuja, for example, are in the outskirts. So you are talking of locations like maybe Kuje or some outskirts of Abuja. For example, we have a development behind MD Abubakar Police Barracks. So they are not within town. However, the Renewed Hope Cities project are projects that are located in the town. And so what that means is that they are going to cost more than ordinarily our houses would cost. And so we decided to participate so we can give opportunities to Nigerians who are contributing to the National Housing Fund to live in those communities by enjoying cross-subsidy.
Okay, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development was the MD of the Federal Mortgage Bank before he became Minister. So the kind of collaboration you've been making with him, how has it reflected in access?
In fact, I must say that we consider ourselves lucky to have a minister who understands the workings of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria and to a large extent the Nigerian housing sector. We have benefited a lot because a lot of our loans have been expeditiously passed because he understands where it pinches. You know that the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria has been carrying a lot of, let me say, baggage. A lot of people used to complain about the bank They don't even know how much they are contributing. They have no access to their contributions. They have not benefited from any loan, and so on and so forth. Now, when the minister came, we were very clear between us and himself as to what we need to do to change the narrative about the Federal Mortgage Bank. One is for us to create enough sensitization for people to understand what we are doing. We have had occasions where people have asked us, Federal Mortgage Bank, is that bank still existing? But I think that is gradually changing.
At a point?
Yes, I know. Yeah. So now we run a program which was restored by this current management. Everyone deserves a home. Every week on NTA 8:05 p.m. on Thursdays, and on Saturdays on Channels TV by 7 p.m. So we do this to sensitize Nigerians. Now the point I'm making is that because of the sensitization, a lot more people are joining the National Housing Scheme. And so by extension, we have a lot of loan requests from individuals seeking to benefit from these facilities. So our relationship with the minister has been such that all of the requests that we send to the ministry receive immediate attention. And so we get those approvals as quickly as we want. And that is why we have almost been able to double the loan approvals between just 1 year of our coming into office, between 2023 and 2024. Before we came, total loans in 2023 was 39.7 billion. But during 1 year, we had increased this to 71.5 billion naira. You know, so I must say that that relationship has been very, very wonderful and impacting. Then secondly, the minister has also been emphasizing on affordability. We have had occasions where he has turned down our loans for the reason that he does not believe that Nigerians can afford those prices. And that is the beauty of having, you know, the knowledge or experience of having worked in a place, and he understands the feelings of Nigerians. So what did we do? We decided to go back to the drawing board, using the instrumentality of those cooperative societies to give our contributors an opportunity to design the kind of houses they want by themselves, cost those houses by themselves. Let me say that ordinarily, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is a mortgage institution which presupposes that you have houses standing and then you provide mortgages for people to buy those houses. But because either those houses were not available or the houses available were not within the threshold of affordability to our target market, the low and medium income earners, that was why we decided to venture into construction financing so that we can control the prices at which these houses are delivered for our members. And I keep saying, in Nigeria, we have houses we do not need, and we need houses that we do not have. If you go through the streets of Abuja or any major city, you will see a lot of empty houses. Why is this? Those houses are not affordable. And the houses that are affordable are not available. And that is why we have been following the directive of the minister to make sure that we design houses that are cheaper and affordable to our target market. And accessible, yes. And in fact, let me explain something about accessibility. Now, number one is to meet the qualifying criteria. That is also one constraint that can affect accessibility. So what we decided to do was to remove the equity contribution. It used to be 30%. Now, if you ask an ordinary civil servant that wants to buy a house of 20 million to provide 2 million naira equity, it becomes very, very difficult for people to save. He may have the affordability to pay on a monthly basis, but may not be able to pay at once the equity contribution. So what did we do? We created a rent-to-own window where you can move into the house and pay gradually as if you are just paying your normal rent. And over a time, the house becomes yours. So we just spread the cost of the house over the number of years that you have remaining in service, and then you pay gradually. And so these initiatives are actually driven by the minister, who has been insisting on accessibility. Two is the issue of our IT transformation. When we came on board, we met an IT program that had been on for almost like 5 to 6 years. So we decided, which is a core banking application technology that the bank was deploying. So we took a bold step to make sure that whatever it took, we needed to close out and make it possible for individuals on top of their phones to be able to access our facilities. So you can actually use your phone to register with the NHF. You can use your phone to apply for a loan. And so we have a seamless transformation that is going on, that is making it possible and easy for people to access these houses.
Okay, we'll pause you there for a while we bring in the other guests into this conversation. Dr. Chime, Tell us, what has been your experience, working with the Federal Mortgage Bank on affordable house? He leaves office maybe after 4 years or 8 years. Every Nigerian will have a home, not just a house, a home, affordable, and you can live in it, or you can buy as many as you want if you have the money to buy it. So, as partners in this journey with the president, how has your experience been with the Federal Mortgage Bank? And let's talk about accessibility, your reach with them.
Thank you so much. In actual fact, many people, Nigerians, do not know that the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, precisely. There was a problem of availability of houses for mortgages, and the Nigerian Labour Congress under Adams Oshomole decided to abrogate contribution of workers to the National Housing Fund. Mr. President then, Obasanjo, said, no, we can't do this. What do we need to do? I appointed the Peter Odele committee to look at it. Dr. Peter Odele was then the governor of
Rivers State.
Yeah. And that committee sat, and after that they said, okay, we have to do a comprehensive review of the housing ecosystem. And that was what led to the revamped FMBN then, led by Professor Akim Mabagunze. And one of the things they did was to begin to address external factors that is impinging the affordability and access to housing. Because all the factors and all the activities that will make for affordability and access to housing does not start and end in Federal Mortgage Bank. There are external parties that are the state government. There are external parties like suppliers of building material. So they created what you call the Building Material Producers Association of Nigeria to be able to see what incentive and what encouragement and collaboration that can exist with all those who are with the system of housing development. That has been the move over the years. Now, on the oncoming of architect Ahmed Musa Dangiwa led to the revamping of that concept, because staying alone, the factor that will make for affordability and accessibility does not reside alone with Federal Mortgage Bank. There has to be a cross improvement you do, 100% improvement, make Federal Mortgage Bank efficient. That will not bring down accessibility and affordability. So that led now to that broader engagement. And that is one of the beauty of what Mr. President has been able to bring in, to take us back to that 2002, 23 years ago, looking at the matter from a comprehensive perspective. And that is what is ongoing, and it is something that will lead to massive engagement. And I was playing a role in the land sector. Every development is on land. You discover, for instance, that Federal Mortgage Bank relies on documents for collateral for their mortgage loan. And that is not produced by Federal Mortgage Bank. It's not produced by federal government. 90% of the land is under the jurisdiction of the subnationals. Now, so there has to be a constructive engagement, because in the past, we have had situations where you finish a house in 6 months, but it takes 2 years to have the appropriate title to create the mortgage. And these titles are important because they provide a safeguard against default of the people. So what has happened over this period is that there has been a holistic re-engagement, I would say, re-engagement of all the factors that will lead to affordability and accessibility of land. And that engagement is taking place under the piloting of the minister. Now, those of us in the private sector, there was this agreement that, there was excessive profiteering on the part of developers. So what Federal Mortgage Bank has agreed with the private developers is, okay, we can look at this. Because we are providing the construction loan at a reasonable margin of 10%, 12%, we ourselves also take a shave in our own profit. And so there has to be an agreement to look at the bill of quantity, look at other factors, and be able to cut it down, because we have all a collective agreement, a collective objective. And that objective is to provide for Nigerians affordable home. That engagement is what has taken place over the years. That we'll sit down, no matter the sector you are coming from, if you are a mortgage bank, instead of asking for a spread of 6%, 7%, they were able to bring the mortgage banks to do only 2% spread on the mortgage loan that passes through them.
Okay.
Now, for the developers, They were able to bring down the profit margin. So this engagement was, for some time after the 2007, was whittling down, but it has come on board again. And it is going to take quite some time to be able to get all the parties to see the need for us to have massive collaboration in bringing down the prices of housing in Nigeria. That engagement also goes back to even the architects. Can we design houses that are affordable? It goes back to the building material producers. Can we have affordable building material that is locally affordable, that is not subject to the variations of foreign exchange fluctuation? So this engagement is something that I think that have been going on for some time now. A core component of those engagements is the fact that we have to ask ourselves, in the past, federal government, Federal Mortgage Bank approached the state government. In some states, the cost of the land is more than the cost of the house on it. So there has to be a robust engagement to look at the fact of what are the mutual benefits. It is the responsibility of the state government to assist in providing affordable housing for their people. In the process, they will create employment. In the process, they will create IGR for themselves. So that engagement, comprehensive, collaborative engagement, is what is ongoing today. And that involves every party that has a role to play in the housing ecosystem. And I believe that for those of us, it's an exciting thing. What is the excitement about it? The excitement about it is the fact that we appreciate that over time, there has been a paradigm shift in the approach to home ownership. 30, 40 years ago, people saved to build houses. But we have to migrate to the global trend of credit for housing, called mortgage, wherein you live in a house and you are paying for the house. Now, there are underlying structural issues that has to be tinkered with our laws, our foreclosure laws, and so many other factors. And that engagement is what requires a professional who understands all these activity centers and what we need to do. Because it's not only just one activity center, Federal Mortgage Bank. No, it is activity centers that are cut across all the stakeholder institutions that have a role to play in that transaction dynamics. And that, for me, is the engagement that will continue to go on. It will not yield an immediate result because, for instance, the engagement of the subnationals is something that takes quite a while. Because any issue of land, they say, oh, you are coming to take our land. You are trying to affect us. So, but for the citizens, precisely. So we are getting that advocacy taken down to them. Can we have a conversation about your fears? And then while still looking at the Nigerian masses who are trying to provide shelter, who are trying to provide employment through that shelter provision, who are trying to provide multiplier effect in the local economy. So these are some of the engagements that takes time. But because people are very eager to move into the house the next time, say, oh, what are you doing? We can't see what you are doing. But a lot is going on.
A lot is going on, Dr. Chime. At least we're glad that the engagement has commenced and work is on. And actually what Nigerians want to see is the houses for them to be able to afford it. Let's look at let me come to Barrister Adebayo now. Let's assess the impact of this Renew Hope Cities and Estates Development Program on the housing sector. Because a lot of Nigerians are asking what are the opportunities available for them. So you just give us your assessment of this Renew Hope Cities and Estate Development Program of the housing sector, and what opportunities and challenges do you foresee?
Thank you so much. 2 years of Tinubu's administration. I've done a lot of report on it. I've written out some news, make some write-up, made a critical appraisal of where we were, where we are, and where we are supposed to go. Housing is key. It's a serious matter. When you house your staff, when it comes to the office on the second day, that's productivity. If he has not slept well, the possibility that when he gets to the office, he'll be sleeping is there. Meaning, there's a correlation between housing and productivity. Let this also be known to you. The housing has correlation with earth. If you don't live in a decent house, when I say decent, I mean habitable house. When I say habitable house, I mean house where you are protected, there's security. Not that anybody can just come and take you out. I mean a house that complies to health positively. There are some houses that comply to health negatively, meaning the people living there will always go to hospital. We are saying there's also a correlation between housing and health. If a government provides housing, the resources that will be spending on health will reduce. Go to hospitals today and see what is going on. Last week, somebody spoke with me that he was hospitalized. He's supposed to spend 3 days. They said he should go on the second day because there are some critical cases that are better, that are worse than his own. So he should continue the treatment. So housing could be used to stop or to alleviate the suffering of the people all over the world. We see the contribution of housing, the mortgage to the GDP. In Nigeria is low. I think we are talking of 5.something% now. But I think we can do better. Mr. President, on June 8th, at the groundbreaking of the New Hope said, every Nigerian deserves a home. I fell in love with him. And since then, I've been waiting for him to do what he's doing in Calabar, Lagos Expressway that has political backing and is moving like a machine to do that in housing. Housing needs political backing. The Federal Mortgage Bank we are talking about, how much does the federal government have there since they established it? The capital, from my record, as a leading promoter of housing in Africa, that the government invested 2.5 billion. And by that, I don't know the MD is whether I can confirm whether they've gotten another recapitalization after that. And I'm also aware that CBN is supposed to make some contribution, about 30%, as part of their own capitalization for Federal Mortgage Bank. NSITF. I must inform you here that today, I'm not here, that CBN has fulfilled its own condition. And I'm also not aware that NSITF has fulfilled its own condition. If FMBN does not have money, how would they finance? They are relying mostly on what? On National Housing Fund. The National Housing Fund Act of 1992 said very clearly that the banks must devote a particular, I think 1% of their profits after tax. Send it to FMBN so that Nigeria can be housed. Are they fulfilling it? Are they complying to it? I remember last year I wanted to sue Central Bank of Nigeria for not ensuring that the banks comply, for not ensuring that the insurance company comply, because it is like disobeying the rules, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I think I'm still going to do that, because I stopped then because I saw that the National Assembly was inviting them to come and explain why. Federal Mortgage Bank is under 2 supervisors. And I think the prudential supervisor, by the virtue of that banking element around them, is the Central Bank of Nigeria. And I think also the political and the strategic supervisor is the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. So we are talking today that houses are being built. In fact, but there, housing creates jobs. As a mobile man that go from one estate to another estate, I've seen so many people enter into estate with Okada. And after 2 years, I saw them riding their car. So that is the power of housing. The man, woman selling food. The man riding Okada. I can tell you here that you can even use housing to arrest insecurity.